Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Cynthia Guerrero. I'm from the Brandenburg University of Technology in Germany, and I am here to talk to you about the experience in Germany with electrochemical storage. So this is my table of contents, and we are going to have an introduction about the political framework in Europe, in general, and in Germany in particular, which has been very important for the development of the current infrastructure in energy storage. We are also going to talk a bit of technology, which I think I'm not going to stop very long because there are more presentations focused on the technique. And then I'm going to talk about pilot projects, regulation, and we are very happy to have the discussion at the end. Good. So the point where we are starting from, it's the energy policy. In German, this is called Energiewende. The literal translation is energy transition. This is not like in Brazil. In Brazil, for example, there is a plano energético, energy plan, which is more predictive and it's for planning. In Germany, the energy transition, it's a legislation. It sets mandatory targets for the country to reach specific percentages of renewables. There are some guidelines from the European Union trying to reduce CO2 emissions and to have a percentage of renewables in the energy matrix of each of the 27 European countries. Germany is the country with the most strict regulation. By 2050, 80% of the electricity matrix has to come from renewables, which is a very challenging fact for a country like Germany. I'm going to start from the point where the law was developed. In Germany, we have 30% of renewables, as we are speaking right now, but we have 13% of nuclear power, and we have in total 40% of coal. That means that for years we have depended on fossil fuels and in nuclear power for cheap and reliable and secure system. Now, in order to make it so dependent on renewables, we're going to have very big challenges with these intermittent sources. Nevertheless, the German government understands the importance of a sustainable growth of renewables with energy security, and that's why energy storage became a priority for the federal government of Germany. Important is that the Energiewende, in the energy transition, by 2022, all the nuclear plants are going to be shut down. So also this topic also becomes more relevant because there is a time that is approaching very close to us. And also there are, of course, other parallel activities planned, for example, to expand the network and to make more flexible and efficient the conventional power plants. So in Germany, we have a lot of challenges coming very, very fast. This is an example from the energy mix that we are seeing before and after the energy transition. Here in this graph on the left, you see what I explained, that we are very dependent on fossil fuels, and how it's going to be in the future. Now, there is a law in Germany, and the renewables have priority. No matter what, the production of wind and solar has to be integrated in the grid, because there is no the possibility to turn off the nuclear or the lignite power plants. Then there is the need to reduce their load, if it's possible, or to generate an extra that is going to go to the network from Europe, the ENTSO, Energy Network for Transmission System Operators. It happened already in Germany last year that 100% of the energy consumed in Germany was supplied by renewables. But of course, it was a very specific case in a weekend with a low demand, with a lot of sun, with a lot of wind. And how did this happen? It's because in Germany there is already an overcapacity of solar and wind. This is already a reality. Therefore, the difference with Germany and Brazil I was very surprised, actually, in the presentation from Mr. Consent, because he said the peak load in Brazil is around 80 gigawatts, which is comparable to Germany. That is only in very few days, when it's very cold in winter, usually, when we have a very high demand on energy. But we have very large seasonal variations. We have from 40 in the base load, the medium load goes to 60 gigawatts, and as I said, the peak load to 80. This is interesting because Brazil is 24 times larger than Germany. And Brazil has a population of 207 million people, while Germany has 83 million. Nevertheless, in Germany, we are talking about a country that is very strong in manufacturing industry in general, auto manufacturing in particular, and for example, chemicals, iron, steel. There are a lot of products that demand a very stable power in the grid. In Germany right now, because of this very strong integration, it's already a reality that especially some areas of the country have very violent load gradient changes. And that's why in Germany, more than ever, the technology is being developed with a lot of support from the German government. Right now, the storage capacity of Germany is dependent of pump storage, like in the whole world. Nevertheless, this is already proven to be insufficient for the new policy and the new environmental goals. So it is going to be necessary to develop other sources. Compressed energy storage, one of the two commercial ones in the world, one is the Macintosh, one is in Germany. There is flywheel research, there are different technologies. But right now, the very consolidated one for stationary storage is batteries, specifically or mainly lithium-ion. So there are different technologies for batteries, and as I said, I'm not going to go very deep in the technology, but lithium-ion is the main one. We had a discussion right now in the car when we were going to lunch, and one person asked, why is lithium-ion so strong compared to other technologies? And I think the question was already answered by the previous presentation from the person from the project in California. The main reason is because there is a high compatibility for batteries from stationary applications and with cars. You actually have the same pouches, the same battery cells, and the same arrangements. And then you can manufacture them in very big scale and just change the application. That is a very important aspect. There are other technologies that have been explored in Germany, as in all the other world. The sodium sulfur was actually very much used in the World War II, because they as the presentation before also mentioned, the military applications usually need something with very low self-discharge. And for example, for high temperature batteries, you need that. Nevertheless, as I said, now lithium-ion is the dominant technology. I'm going just to pass these slides because I want to go to this one. In Germany, we do not manufacture the whole batteries. It is a trend in the whole world, but right now it doesn't make economic sense to produce the cells in Europe or in the United States because the prices are so cheap in Asia. So LG, Samsung, all these batteries from Korea, from China, they dominate the market. And in this case, we have an anecdote with a person that is also here present from Bolivia. We got in contact a couple of years ago because Daimler in Germany was planning to sell 2 factories for 2 production lines for battery pouches, battery cell, the whole automated line, because they realized it's not economically feasible. They decided to import it from Asia, even if they are already built the whole production lines. We met someone from Bolivia, from Comibol. We tried to establish a link to see if they wanted to buy the technology. Somehow it didn't work because of the time frames and bureaucracy, and because the software of the facilities were in German, many things. At the end, all these plants were sold as electronic waste, so that you have an idea. that Daimler preferred to let everything be lost than to keep producing in Germany. So it is interesting to know that Germany also has the same trend as in other countries. The pouches are imported, and then the arrangement is assembled in Germany. So this is just a slide that you can look a little bit with more detail when you get the presentation. But it is about different technologies with lithium ion, and it's a comparison of different materials, and we can know the difference between voltage, storage capacity, and all these aspects that have to be assessed when choosing a system. And now to go really deep into the energy in Germany, I'm going to divide the presentation in 3 parts. The first one is the storage in small scale. The second are the stationary applications. And the third one is the electric autos. So in Germany, since 2003, there is a law called Erneuerbare Energiegesetz that in English is translated as the Renewable Energy Law, in which everybody is able to produce electricity and sell it to the grid with a contract with a warranty of 20 years. The good thing of this law is that it allowed what people call a democratization of energy. People were able to decide to put a rooftop in their houses and to know that they would get a good price for their electricity for years. And that allowed the German energy matrix to have a lot of small scale plants, much more than large scale centralized solar parks. We have the centralized small in rooftops, and the number is coming to 1.4 million of these systems. Also, the prices for solar power is getting down, and now what the German government is doing is a new support with taxes so that people start doing their own systems with batteries. Now, there are 20% of the rooftops in Germany that already have a system for batteries. Right now, we heard before in the presentations from the morning about Tesla battery. In Germany, there are many other suppliers of these systems that allow also to have mini grids connected to the grid that become a virtual power plant, for example. So this development is particularly important, and it's expected to tenfold in the next few years because of these benefits with the taxes. That, of course, have the benefit that we are going to need less extension of the grid, and also to avoid congestion. So this has been a very effective measure from the federal government. Now I'm going to talk about the large-scale storage. In Germany, the whole German territory is distributed in 4 different transmission system operators. I live in Cottbus. It is in the east of Germany, and we have 50 Hertz. That's our company. And just for you to have an idea, if you want to install a battery system for primary reserve, that means the first one that goes is as an ancillary service, then you have to write a proposal to the transmission system operator, and then they are going to evaluate if you have the conditions to provide the power needed with the response time necessary. If you do, then you come to an leilão. ¿Cómo se llama leilão en inglés? A bid auction. Thank you. Then you go to an auction that is done every week, and then you have a price for your ancillary system. So in this case, I want to show you this slide. This is the distribution of the most important battery storage projects in Germany. For example, in the east of Germany, close from where we are, we have one from the company Energiequelle in Feldheim that is 10 megawatts. We're going to talk a little bit more about it, but in general, in Germany, there are more and more large-scale applications, and as I said, they are part of the transmission system operators. Here is just an overview from the projects in the world, which is interesting because we already saw a lot of them in the presentations earlier. We saw the one in Hawaii, and we talked about the ones in California. So there are other projects around the world. So I'm going to show you 3 examples from Germany. This was the first one in the whole Germany to be certified as a provider of ancillary services for the transmission system operator. And it was using the technology of lead acid, jumbo ácido. And this is in Aldaber. This is how the container looks from inside, and then they are doing the pouches. Another one done by the company Steag. They didn't have one plant, specifically one container. They have 6 different containers, each one with 15 megawatts, making a total of 90 megawatts. These are separated geographically and strategically to have a very big capacity and a very fast response as well. This is the one in Feldheim that our university, here. This is the one in Feldheim that I said about before, 10 megawatts. And our university is a partner of that. We are doing some research of the aging cycle of the batteries. And this is using lithium ion. And here is a picture of how it looks inside. You have the different compartments with racks, and then inside the racks you have the pouches. Of course, in Germany there are very strict security measures, so all this inside the batteries is conditioned with the perfect temperature, humidity conditions. And the last one here is located in Chemnitz, and this one was one of the latest ones to be certified in the primary control reserve. So talking about other projects, before we heard about redox flow batteries. In Germany, they are planning to build the largest energy storage system, even larger than the one we heard before in South Australia, in Southeast Australia. There is one plant for 100 megawatts. In Germany, there are implants, it's still not started, to do the largest redox flow battery using salt caverns instead of tanks. So like the technology we were presented before, that you have the 2 tanks where the 2 chemicals are combined for the chemical reaction, then you're going to have salt caverns in it. This is theoretically going to supply a city like Berlin for 4 hours. And so the last topic of this presentation is the vehicle autos, electric autos. In Germany, somehow it haven't grown so much. Germany is the 8th in the fleet of cars. I have here the growth, the annual growth of cars. Germany is actually after China, US, Japan, Norway, Netherlands, France, UK. Then comes Germany. Why? Because Germany has a very, very strong auto manufacturing. We have Volkswagen, BMW, Mercedes-Benz, and the whole industry has to adapt for the new requirements. And in addition, Germany is the largest producer of biodiesel. So it comes from rapeseed, and Portuguese is óleo de colza, vem de tac da colza da canola. So the biodiesel is a very strong industry in Germany, and also for large transportation autos. And now it's a point where the German government has to decide to which technology is going to go. There are also research for hydrogen cars, which is a competing industry. So in the moment, the auto industry in terms of storage in Germany is the less developed. And we can also note that with the infrastructure, in Japan there is already more charging points for electric cars than normal petrol stations. In Germany, there is not the case. If in Europe in general, you have a lot of charging points, but for example, if you wanted to drive from Berlin to UK through the ferry, you really have to plan very well that you are going to make it through the points. We already did this study, and you have to calculate very well. There is no wide infrastructure yet. Other topics of research and development. Our institute, for example, is specialized in new studies and methodologies for assessing the aging of the batteries. That is like a very important topic for development. And also the cold starts, the blackouts, all the different ancillary services to try to make economical optimization. And this is part of the research we do. You can have a better look when you get the slides. But we are very happy always to have international cooperation. And thank you very much for your attention.
Muito obrigado, a doutora Cynthia. E agora eu convido, então,